I have a bit of a different topic to talk about today. It's one that's very close to my heart, and it's one that I really enjoy seeing other people's processes for achieving. So I thought it would be worth giving you my perspective and opinion on how to plan and possibly sew a wardrobe that works for you. As I mentioned, I absolutely love watching this kind of content, and I have linked to a few of my favorites in the description down below, from free YouTube tutorials through to books and workshops, as well as in listing the help of an expert like the very lovely Nicola from All About the Outfit. All of the details and links to those videos and resources will be in the description down below. How many times have you opened your wardrobe, looked at the giant amount of clothes that you've got and thought, I have nothing to wear? I used to be so guilty of this. I have always loved clothes. I wouldn't say I have always loved fashion. I've never wanted or tried to be fashionable. I've always wanted to dress my figure in the best way that I possibly could. And before I sewed, that was shopping on the high street. And that was very difficult. And one of the big reasons why I ended up learning to sew, because I wanted to be able to make things that I had in my head that just weren't available, or if they were available, they didn't fit me very well. I'm one of those people as well that if I ever found something that I loved, and more importantly that kind of fit me, I would buy it in every single colour. So theoretically I should have had a wardrobe full of potential outfits, and so often I would open the wardrobe to try and get dressed and just literally be confronted with a wall of clothing and not feel inspired to put any of it on. Obviously over the years our styles change and the requirements that you have for your wardrobe change and adjust as well, but I think I've kind of worked out a way of making clothes now, but this would also apply to buying clothes, that has meant that I have a plethora of clothes that I absolutely love, I'm excited to wear, and can pair in different ways to make multiple outfits from one or two pieces. Okay, so without any more waffle, let's dive into the actual method that I think works for planning your perfect wardrobe. So the first step is to assess your lifestyle. You want to look at your day-to-day life and identify different areas that you possibly need different clothing for. For example, work, social events, any fitness activities that you do, any leisure activities that you do, any hobbies that need specific types of clothing, horse riding for example, your underwear and also your sleepwear. You want to consider if you have any specific requirements for any of those areas of your life. For example, your job. Is there a uniform? If there is, great. That means you don't have to think about that particular aspect of your life. You just wear what you were told to wear and fingers crossed it fits you, and if it doesn't, you can tailor it to maybe look a little bit better. If there isn't a uniform but there is a dress code, if it's a smarter dress code than you necessarily would want to wear in your day-to-day life, that will then create a specific part of your wardrobe that has to be tailored to those dress code requirements. And as I mentioned, do you have a specific hobby or activity that you do regularly that needs a specific set of clothing to make it safe, appropriate, etc, etc. So you need to identify what your day-to-day life looks like and realistically work out the types of clothing and outfits that you're going to need for that lifestyle. I can look at other people's wardrobes and think, oh gosh, yes, I would 100% want that person's entire range of clothing in my own wardrobe, and I would be perfectly happy and it would be great and I could make millions of outfits and I'd never feel like I had nothing to wear. And the reality of that is that I would get their wardrobe and their lifestyle is massively different to mine, and it wouldn't work. It would be a wardrobe full of beautiful clothes that again would end up with me sitting in front of it just going, I have nothing to wear. I'm going to give you a few examples of my life and how I have thought about those categories and applied those categories to the kinds of things that I like wearing, I want to make, and things that I am on the fence about making, so currently buy but maybe would like to make in the future. So for example, for me, work. I have two work modes, one of which is on camera and one of which is editing, all of the editing. So for on camera, obviously I do like to dress up. It has become a kind of norm for me day to day to put a really pretty dress on, some kind of like cover up, because I am a total lizard person and I'm always cold, and I tend to dress like this day to day when I'm coming down to the studio to work, regardless of whether I'm filming or not. I very much enjoy looking nice on camera, and I very much enjoy wearing these kinds of clothes. And a lot of people would say that I am overdressed for the type of thing that I'm doing. And one of the things that people would say about me most of the time is that I'm probably thoroughly overdressed for whatever I'm going to. But I love the kinds of clothes that I love, and I love wearing them, and I make a lot of them. So if I didn't wear them, they would be kind of pointless. So my default work mode is pretty dress, some kind of a cover up, and I usually have my fluffy slipper boots on down here because they're comfy, they're warm, and as much as I love my high heels, there is a limit. I can't sew in high heels, I also can't drive in high heels, so there is a limit to my willingness to suffer for fashion if absolutely nobody but me is going to see it. Another side of things is, because I work for myself and because I work from home, it would be incredibly easy for me to live in pajamas, live in sweats, live in casual wear, and I have found myself falling into that rut in the past. And again, what is the point of me making all of the beautiful things that I do if I'm not going to be wearing them? So I've given myself permission to wear my beautiful dresses, which are probably far too over the top, day to day, and treat them as my casual work attire. That being said, when I go home, and by home I mean my commute through my back garden to my room to sit with my cat and either edit or watch TV of an evening, I will take these clothes off. I don't sit around in these clothes in my kind of like leisure time. I will put on my comfies, my dressing gown, pajamas, something warm and snuggly and loose that is comfortable to sit around in and be poured on by a cat, because I do have a very cuddly cat, which is a wonderful thing to have, but also not great for fine fabrics or knitwear. I'm sure any cat owners out there will agree with me. So that's my kind of smart side of my job, and as I say, my editing side of my job tends to be those comfy casual outfits. For far longer than I care to admit, a backbone of that part of my wardrobe was the business and first class pajamas that you get from flying anywhere sort of like slightly long haul. My mum used to travel for work a lot all over the world, and her company would always buy her business or first class tickets, so she would get a lot of business and first class pajamas. I have Qatar Airways, I had Saudi Airways, I had British Airways sets of these pajamas because she flew so often. We all got a set, and they were lovely and snuggly and really comfortable, but they were not stylish or elegant. So recognizing that I wanted to be in comfies for that part of my job, I've made a conscious decision and effort to make myself some smarter casual attire, and I'm really pleased that I did because I love how it looks. It's super comfortable, but I still feel put together, which I love. I very much find that my mood and productivity is dictated by how I feel in myself of a day. So that's my work life covered. Sorry, that was very long and rambling. So leisure, downtime, again, it's the comfies and PJs, the kind of like sort of less formal work attire. And again, I have made myself a bunch of stuff that is slightly elevated, some thought put into it, colours that I like, and comfortable fabrics. So all of it is made from knit fabrics, and I love that side of things. Fitness, I am attempting to do yoga badly, and there is an area of my wardrobe that definitely needs some attention. I have some yoga pants that I have had since I was 18, so you know they're old enough to drink all by themselves. They are very ancient, and given how little exercise I do, that's the only reason they're still going strong to this day. But I am doing more exercise, I am doing more yoga, I'm doing more walking, and so I am going to need to expand that side of my wardrobe. So that is a hole in my wardrobe that I have identified. The other thing that I do for fitness is salsa. That again has a very kind of specific requirement. I tend to wear the kinds of dresses that I wear during the day as long as they don't have restrictive sleeves. So I need sleeveless or flutter sleeves or teeny tiny cap sleeves like this dress has, or my super big sleeved dresses, something floaty but not too floaty because you do spin a lot in salsa and you don't want to be like whacking other people with your clothing, and something that is a breathable fabric, so no polyester. Ask me how I know. Sometimes I wear my skinny jeans if it's really super cold outside, because one thing I hate is wearing tights with my dancing shoes. I find that really uncomfortable and slippery, and also I overheat in those. So I need dresses that allow for movement, and I need breathable dresses, of which my wardrobe is full of. So that base is covered. And then the other thing that I'm doing for fitness is walking. I have a walking pad at home for when the weather is not so nice outside, and I also very much enjoy walking along the esplanade between Shanklin and Sandown and back because it's nice and flat and lovely views and lots of fresh air. So for that I need fine light layers that are easy to put on and take off, because the more I walk the warmer I get, and I also need really good comfy walking shoes, which I already own. So that area of my wardrobe is covered. Lingerie I buy. I would love to get to the point where I can make it for myself, but I do buy my own lingerie at the moment. I have an entire box of lingerie supplies and an entire library of patterns that I will at some point pluck the courage up to attempt to make, but my shape is fluctuating a lot at the moment and I don't want to spend all that time getting a bra to fit only to find out that it's either too big or too small in a couple of months time. So store-bought at the moment is totally fine. I also wear slips under all of my clothing because I like the kind of like smoothing effect that it has. Also they're microfiber slips, so I find they're really easy to wear and wash, and given that I film outfit of the day, get ready with me's, they are also something that protect my modesty online because nobody needs to see me in just my underwear on the internet. And finally, sleepwear. I personally don't like sleeping in anything. I am not a fan of feeling restricted in any way, but I do have and will make cotton pajamas for the loungewear side of things, so you know, I am covered on that base. Okay, the next step is probably the most difficult, and that's to define your style. I think I mentioned earlier, my style has wildly changed from when I was in my 20s to now being in my mid-40s, and a lot of that again has been due to where I live, the things that I do, if I've had uniforms or not. I've had some very funky uniforms in my jobs, and the types of things that I like to do, and also the clothing that was available to me and the clothing that I can now make. This will be the most difficult part of this process, and there's loads of different ways to tackle this. As I mentioned at the beginning, I have gone through a few different systems and I've kind of like taken bits and pieces from all of them to make it work for me. I absolutely love the book The Curated Closet, and there's a separate workbook that you can buy and work your way through that will talk you through how to really hone in and define your style and the different elements of things that you like that you can cohesively hopefully put together to define you as a person. Something that I have tried in the past, as I said, is trying to copy other people that I admired, and that never works. There's always something that is perfect for the person that you saw them on but doesn't quite work for me. I used to buy every single fashion magazine that was released, and I would go through and I would rip out pages and I would stick those inspiration pieces into notebooks, and I don't have them anymore. When we moved in here there was a space limitation, so I have got rid of those, especially now that the internet is such a thing and there are places like Pinterest. I absolutely love Pinterest, and if you have a look at my Pinterest board you will see that there are loads of different kind of like spring outfits, autumn outfits, summer outfits, 2022 style, curated closet inspiration, etc, etc. I love trawling through Pinterest and pinning everything that catches my fancy, and if you have a look through my curated closet board, which I will link in the description down below, there's over 2,500 pins in there, so I don't expect you to look through everything, but that was the problem. There's 2,500 pins in there, and that was all these different points of interest of things that I loved. It was just like, oh yeah, I'd wear that, or that looks amazing, or this is fabulous, and they are all those things in and of themselves, but are they right for me? One of the things that I find very difficult to do is see an amazing outfit on somebody else, especially beautiful models, and just be like, oh, that would look exactly like that on me. It would not. I have very different proportions, and whilst they look stunning in slinky bias cut off the shoulder very nonchalant looks, I probably would look like a mess who has not thought about how she's gotten dressed in the morning and just slung something on, or slung one of her friend's pieces of clothing on. It's not been made for her and it doesn't look great. Ask me how I know. So something that I have tried to do recently is go back through those boards of all of this inspiration of things that have immediately jumped out to me and said, oh, I love you. And I've gone through and I have tried to cherry pick things that it was like, I would actually wear that. I would actually put that on my body and feel good in it, rather than these kind of fantasy outfits that are beautiful things and do look amazing on other body types but wouldn't look great on me. And that board of 2,500 things, I think I've whittled it down to about 68, 70 pieces from there, which is still an awful lot, and it's still things in there that I wouldn't necessarily wear the entire thing, but there's a part of that outfit that I love that I can hone in on that aspect of it and apply that to my own wardrobe in the future rather than taking the whole thing. Of course, there is social media as well, and I follow over 3,500 accounts on Instagram alone, not even thinking about the different YouTube and TikToks that I follow as well. I absolutely love getting inspiration from other people, especially sewists, who sometimes use patterns that I've not even known about, or use a pattern that I have completely discounted and made it look absolutely fabulous. There are very, very few out there who I would actually take their entire wardrobe and wear it and it would feel like me, because we all have very individual senses of style, as we've discussed at the whole point of this video. I absolutely love taking inspiration from other people in the sewing community because, as I say, they come up with some amazing combinations of patterns and fabrics that I would not necessarily have thought of. But again, if I have done this, if I try and copy and paste it completely, they never quite look right. So what you want to do is think about why you love that thing. Do you love it on them, or do you love the fabric but you want a different pattern? Or is the pattern amazing but they've done it in a solid and you want it in a loud and leery floral print? So it's really easy to get overwhelmed by this stage and to kind of just do the thing that I did the very first time around that I did it and pinned 2,500 things of just like, yeah, this is my ideal, look, this is me. You really have to kind of go back through and condense things down and have a look at the specific elements, fabrics, fibers, textures, silhouettes, shapes that you like, and narrow it down to things that you would actually put on and actually feel good in. Now again, as a sewist, that's not the easiest thing to trial and error. If you buy ready to wear clothing, you can go into a department store and try a different bunch of things on. For example, I want to do this with trousers. I have not yet found my perfect trouser style, so I want to go to a biggest department store I can find, try all the different shapes and styles of trousers on and work out which one I actually like the look of. I'm expecting none of them to fit me because of my shape, and that was again one of the reasons that I now sew, but it will give me a jumping off point for looking through my pattern stash, or possibly even doing the trouser sloper class that I have got from Craftsy and trying to then tweak patterns that I have or make patterns up to test the theory of if I like this thing when it fits me well. As sewists, we all know, unfortunately, you have to make the thing to try the thing to see if you like the thing. So I would highly recommend, especially if you are in a style rut at the moment and you don't have a clue on what your style is, go to a really big department store and try a bunch of things on. It is not fun. I don't enjoy that aspect of shopping. I never have. I do not like dressing rooms, so I appreciate that this is not the most fun suggestion. But if you are in a total style rut, I would highly recommend that you do this rather than try sewing a bunch of different things that you've seen on other people, that you love on other people, that may not work for you. Try some styles on, try some silhouettes on, try some shapes on, and see what you like, see what you feel good in, see what you feel confident in. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from any of these types of videos, is that if you feel confident in the clothes that you're putting on, you're gonna look fabulous regardless of what anyone else thinks. And unfortunately, people will tell you what they think. Ask me how I know. But if you feel confident in the clothing that you're putting on your body, you are going to portray that confidence and look fabulous regardless of what you're wearing. So given all of that I've just said, this might be the time to call in an expert. This video is not sponsored by All About the Outfit or Craftsy or any of the other people that I've mentioned. It's just all the resources that I've used. I, for the longest time, was blundering around and buying any fabric that took my fancy, and I had no idea of what colours suited me. Having my colours done a couple of years ago was expensive, but oh my goodness, wasn't it amazing. I was always wearing, thankfully, mostly warm colours, but I was kind of definitely leaning in the autumnal kind of colour range, which makes my mum very happy because when I destashed a bunch of fabric, they've all gone to her because they're warm, but they're for autumn. I'm a spring, so it's all very bright, bold, saturated colours with warm undertones, and I love them, and I look so much better in them than some of the other things that I finished. I am going to be doing a separate video on my style evolution, and I have gone back over my previous what I've made in a year videos to try and work out what I've kept and what's gone and why. The results from that are really interesting, so as I say, that is coming in a second video. This is already going to be very long, so I'm not going to waffle about it too much longer, but I would highly recommend that that you get a colour analysis. It doesn't have to be from Nicola, although Nicola is amazing and I highly recommend. And while you're at it, have a body shape analysis done, because it will give you some ideas of the types of silhouettes and necklines and skirt lengths and darts and waistlines that are going to look good on your body type. This is especially helpful if you really don't want to go and do the kind of like department store thing that I mentioned, to have somebody who is just going to be like, ah, so your silhouette or your figure does this, and so if you do this with the style lines of your clothing, then it's going to achieve this look. Now again, not everybody wants to dress the same, and that's one of the beautiful things about clothing and the freedom that we have in this day and age to wear whatever we want within reason, however we want. I love that there are all these different aesthetics that people can have a look at: fairycore, cottagecore, dark academia, light academia, the list goes on. I mean, piratecore, I love piratecore. I used to want to be the All Saints girl. I love All Saints clothing, but it's not designed for my shape whatsoever, and I always struggled whenever I would go in there and try all these beautiful things on. I didn't look like the girl in the advert, or I didn't look like the other people that I had seen wearing this combination, and that's just because it wasn't designed for my shape. So hiring an expert who will be able to help you with this is going to be expensive to start off with. It is going to be an investment, but it is going to save you time and money in the long run, 100%. So I would highly recommend that you look into someone local to you to have your colours done, body shape analysis, and perhaps even a wardrobe edit, although that is a point that I'm coming up to in a little bit. So the next thing might sound really obvious, but it's taken me a very long time to work this out. You want to build a core wardrobe, or I'm calling mine my wardrobe backbone. So your core wardrobe, your backbone of your wardrobe, is where you want to invest in either the ready-to-wear pieces or the quality fabrics that you're going to make these pieces up in. Again, it took me far longer to realize this than I care to admit, but I do need a core backbone of my wardrobe in solid colors. Majority of my wardrobe is beautiful prints, and I love it, and one of the reasons that I tend to make dresses and wear dresses so often is that it's one and done. All you have to do is put some kind of cover up on and you have got an outfit. My separates I was having a much harder time with because I was making printed tops, printed bottoms, and nothing went together. Again, I enlisted the help of the very lovely Nicola to help me plan a capsule wardrobe. The predominant amount of the things that I was making for that were a solid colour. So in the past I've done things like this. I have made the black coat, the black skirt, the black trousers, the black tops, and I have never felt comfortable in any of those things, and I couldn't understand why. They're the backbone of everybody's wardrobes. If you look at any capsule collection video, it's always like, you've got to have the perfect pair of black trousers, you've got to have the perfect black skirt if you wear skirts, you've got to have the perfect black jacket. I had all those things, majority of them self-made. Some of them I did have a vintage black blazer which was absolutely gorgeous, and I had tailored, and I never wore them because they're the wrong colour for me. I always felt washed out, drained, and very plain and boring in them. Since having my colours done, and again, this video is not sponsored by Nicola, but having had my colours done, I have now worked out that my darkest neutral is a navy, which technically is from the winter palette, but it works really well for me because I think I kind of managed to borrow things from sort of the brighter side of winter and not the coolest of winter tones. So the navy, tan, and ivory are all my best neutrals, and I'm building a versatile collection of clothing in those neutral colours so that my patterned wardrobe will then work that much harder. I do not find these fun to make. I want to make all the pretty prints and loud and bright and big dresses, but having made some of them, I am so much more inspired to continue working through. You can see my navy suiting here, which is my autumn winter projects in here, and there is some print, there's some tartan and some stripe, but the majority of that is what I would consider the backbone core wardrobe pieces or colours that I am going to be adding into my wardrobe. They're colours that I don't have, and they're going to look amazing with so many of my prints and colourful dresses that I've made. And planning how to make those all work together is another thing that you want to consider, especially if you make your own wardrobe. So you want to be thinking about investing in classic pieces, in high quality fabrics, in colours that work for you, and in silhouettes that you love. I, again, don't think I am fashionable, and I don't want to be fashionable. I do not like the oversized trend that's going on at the moment. I think I would end up looking and feeling bigger and boxier than I actually am. I much prefer well-tailored, fitted clothing. When you are investing in these kinds of pieces, you want to make sure that they're classic in as much as they're classic for you. So the fitted blazer, for example, that you see in so many capsule wardrobe planning videos or tutorials, it's just something that will not work for me. I don't like it. I've had them in the past and they are fabulous on other people, but I don't like them on me because I find that they highlight my largest part of my hips. They are never tailored enough in at the waist without getting into the point of looking far too dressy. I love the Balmain blazers, cannot afford £2,000 on their basic blazer. So I have come up with a cropped jacket that I absolutely love and want to make in multiple colours because it goes with my dresses, it goes with my skirts, and fingers crossed it's going to go with some of the trousers that I am going to pluck up the courage to try making later on this year or at the beginning of next. So the thing to take away from that is whatever you are investing in this part of your wardrobe, it needs to be well made or well tailored, quality fabrics, and a style that you love and that works for you regardless of what's in fashion. The next point I have is consider your colour palette. Now, as I have said, getting your colours done is an investment, but it's one that I highly recommend that you do. Mum had hers done back in the 80s and has sworn by it and still uses that colour swatch book and her style analysis book today and loves it. She's created a uniform for herself that she absolutely loves and feels really confident in. So I would say colour analysis is definitely worth the money. Now, you might not like bright and bold colours. You might want a very neutral and calm looking wardrobe, and that's totally fine. If you're anything like me, you'll want all of the bright and bold colours and the neutrals kind of scare you. So it's a case of sitting down and thinking about the things that you love and the things that you want to wear, because whilst your favourite colour might be shocking pink, you might not actually want to wear shocking pink on your body. And as I mentioned with my last point, your core backbone wardrobe really does want to be in your best neutrals. Something else I see with all these capsule wardrobe tutorials is that it's got to be very neutral, very not me. So again, just because I personally love all these bright, loud, bold prints doesn't mean to say that you have to wear the same thing. You can love them on other people and just be like, never put it on my own body. Absolutely. And again, I see things on other people that I'm just like, that looks fabulous on you. I would look terrible in that. I mean, sometimes I see things on other people and think that looks fabulous on you, I must make it for myself, and we've underlined why that is a bad idea. But you get the point. You want to think about your colour palette and the things that you want to wear, not just the colours that you like, the things that you actually want to wear and that look good on you. You don't have to have your colours done. Something you can do is go to a fabric shop and do the thing where you take the fabric and hold it under your chin in daylight, and if there's a mirror or a friend with a phone, and you can see if the fabric is making you look fabulous or maybe a little bit drained, and if it is making you look drained but you still want it, then you just put it lower on your body. You know, there's ways around it, and there is no cookie cutter answer of these 20 things or these 10 things are going to make the perfect wardrobe and you'll have endless options of outfits. It's going to be very personalized to the things that you either buy or make, but more importantly, wear yourself. Something else to bear in mind is once you've got your core backbone wardrobe made, you can add in different pops of colours. For example, the capsule collection that Nicola and I put together was 20 pieces based around a lot of neutral things with one print thrown in, the Anaconda Anthesis collection. If we take the Anaconda Anthesis out and perhaps the green colour and put in, for example, one of my kind of like warmer floral prints and added in red instead of green, then it's a whole new 186 outfits, and I don't think I will ever do that video again. But you get the point. Once you've got that backbone of wardrobe in and once you know your colours, making this very versatile wardrobe should theoretically be that much easier because everything's going to go and it's all going to be colours that suit you and prints that you like. Something else that you obviously need to consider is your location. You need to think about the seasons that you live through in your day-to-day life. I live on the Isle of Wight in the UK, which means that we definitely have winters, but they're not super cold. They tend to just be wet and hover around 0 degrees Celsius. We have very unpredictable springs, which can go from anything from previously mentioned winter weather right through to 30 degrees, and why are you even putting clothes on? We do sometimes get summers. It doesn't tend to be prolonged amounts of heat. It tends to be fairly humid and muggy and just warm. Autumn, currently the season that we're just about to enter, my favorite time of year because lots of light layers are needed. Usually it's fairly bright, usually it's fairly crisp. We do obviously get rain, but it's one of my favorite seasons because it's not too cold, it's not too hot, and layering is appropriate. You may live in a part of the world where you have one season to contend with, and I always think that I would love to live in the kind of like along the equator and somewhere hot and warm all year round. My brother currently is living in Kuala Lumpur, and yeah, he says the humidity is something else, and with my curly hair that could be interesting, but it's something that I've always thought I wanted, with the occasional like week visit to somewhere with actual snow, because snow is something we really don't get on the Isle of Wight very often, maybe once every 10 years or so. But I'm not sure in reality I would actually want that. I do kind of enjoy the changing of the seasons. My wardrobe also reflects that. I'm lucky enough that I have enough space to keep all of my clothes out year round. I don't tend to pack away for summer or for winter climates because, like I said, I have space, and I believe it or not, with all the stuff that I make, I do still have space in my wardrobe and empty drawers in my room. And a lot of the clothes that I make are appropriate for most of those seasons if layered correctly. I do have a few dresses that are appropriate for if we ever do get one of our very hot summer days, and I do have a few coats that are appropriate for if it gets below 0, which again, neither of those occurrences happen very often, but I am covered for those instances if they ever do. But the rest of my clothing tends to be cottons, rayon, viscoses, sometimes silk and sometimes linen, but they tend to be fairly light things that can be layered up and warmth either added or taken away as needed and dictated by the weather, because it is something to consider if you're planning your wardrobe. For example, if I did happen to live in Kuala Lumpur, as my brother does, I really wouldn't need the bright red coat that I made earlier this year, because I would cook. I would absolutely cook, and I would have a lot more of the McCall's 7945 dresses, because they are fabulous for hot weather because they're light, they're floaty, they're single layer, and they're not cinching in any way. They skim everywhere, which is wonderful. So obviously, depending on where you live and the seasons that you live through will dictate the type of clothing that you need in your wardrobe. Okay, so the next point is probably one of the most intensive parts of this whole process that you will need to do, and that's to assess your current wardrobe. I love doing this. I love taking all of my clothes out and working out, oh, do I like this? Do I not? Do I wear this? Do I not? Does this need fixing? Is there anything wrong with it? Does it need dry cleaning? Does it need spot cleaning? Does it need an overhaul? Is this rescuable? Should this be a cleaning rag? And I do this fairly frequently, usually when I have a visitor and somebody who is willing to kind of help me and give me moral support, because I do have a lot of clothes. I think the best way to approach this is to take absolutely everything out of your wardrobe if you can, at least everything out of the section that you are looking at. Take it all out and honestly look through these things. There are going to be some things that are immediately like, I love this, I'm never getting rid of this, hang that straight back up. There are going to be some things, like I say, that you're going to need to have a look at. Does it need cleaning? Is that why you've not worn it for a while? Is it missing a button? One of the things I would say is, if you ever need to do mini repairs like that, do them the minute you see them. Don't put them in a mending pile, because my mending pile and alteration pile is quite big. Yeah, every now and again the inspiration strikes, but if it is literally just sewing on a button, just do it. So the next thing to consider is, when you look at something, is like, is it an immediate no? Because I've never worn this. And then, why have you never worn it? Is it because it doesn't fit you very well? Is it because it's the wrong colour for you? Is it because you have an idea of where you want to wear it to in your head, but you've never done that thing? For example, a ball gown. Do you go to balls often? Do you need 50 million ball gowns? That's an exaggeration, but you get the point. Like, are you keeping it for sentimental reasons? I have a dress in my wardrobe which is the very first dress that I made when I started trying to sew again, and it is not my style anymore. The bodice is one of my favorites, but the skirt is short. But that dress is the reason I'm sitting here today with the YouTube channel that I have and the career that I have made for myself. So that dress has a place in my wardrobe, but it's actually packed away into one of my boxes rather than hanging up in the wardrobe. I'm never going to get rid of it. I love it. it has sentimental value and I have space for it, more importantly. If you don't have space for your sentimental things, do they need to be hanging in your wardrobe? Could you put them somewhere else? If you can't put them somewhere else, are you ever going to forget the memory that's attached to them, or is it something that you're holding on so that you can take it out and it's a visceral reaction of like this, you know, the smell or the kind of like the looking at it and the holding of it, the fabric, the texture, it brings you back to a certain place. Those kind of things do have a place, and I'm not saying you should be completely brutal and get rid of everything that doesn't fit, but how many sentimental pieces do you need to keep? Do you have pieces in there that you absolutely love, that you wore loads but your style's evolved and they are not the sort of thing that you enjoy wearing anymore, or they are not the sort of thing that you would feel confident and comfortable in going out in anymore for various reasons? I used to wear short skirts and short dresses all of the time. I just don't like them on me anymore, although I am considering making a few for the winter because I can wear very thick tights and my boots, which I love, but they have long since left my wardrobe. I have possibly 1 or 2 short items in my wardrobe for sentimental value, not because I actually wear them anymore. If you are taking out something that you used to love and that you used to wear all the time, but it's just not right for you anymore, do you need to keep it? If the answer is yes, maybe think about putting it into storage. I do have a sentimental box. I have a future-proofing box as well, which is the thing that you are holding in your hand, something that excites you, something that you want to put on your body and want to be seen out in. If the answer is no, that thing needs to go, and it can either be turned into cleaning rags if it has been well worn and loved. I have a few pieces in my wardrobe that I have donated to the cleaning rag pile because I have literally worn holes in them. I have a few pairs of shoes that have had to literally be thrown away because I have again worn holes in them. So anything that's been that well loved and can be put to another purpose, please do. The more we can keep out of landfill, the better. Anything that is in beautiful condition but just doesn't serve you either in fit, colour or aesthetic anymore, do you want to sell that, for example, on Vinted or Poshmark or ThreadUp or eBay, or do you want to donate it to your local charity? I have double checked with my local charity because I've heard many people say that they will not accept me-made or handmade items, especially if they don't have care instruction labels or sizing in them. I double checked with my local charity and they are more than happy to take my me-made things from me, and I do occasionally take those pieces down to them. They have told me that they have sold, so they're not being recycled through them into landfill, although apparently somebody else told me that they get sold to rag traders and get cut up and made into stuffing for car seats and things like that. Honestly, as long as my stuff doesn't end up as rubbish just decaying somewhere, I don't care what somebody does with it once it's not mine anymore. Fingers crossed I make things that are nice enough and well made enough that they will last the test of time. But like I say, double check with your local charity shops that they do accept handmade items before you just take them down there. As I mentioned, this is going to be one of the longer processes that you're going to need to do if you're following along with me, and I highly recommend you do it with a friend. I also highly recommend that you do something like this, the big overarching purge. Then if you still have pieces that you're not sure about, that's when I would call in the expert. So I have had Nicola come over and do a wardrobe edit with me once I had done the very large purge with my friend Robin, who came over last year to help me go through this. Robin happens to be a similar size to me, so she ended up going home with a few pieces for herself. Yeah, having an expert eye come in and give you some insight and opinions on some of the trickier pieces that you're like, I love this but I have no idea how to wear it. They'll give you styling advice. Or I love this but it doesn't quite fit. They'll be able to say, you know, can you have it tailored? Can you have it altered? Can you alter it yourself? They'll be able to give you that critical expert eye. They've got no skin in the game. They're not there to kind of tell you you look fabulous in everything, and they're not there to tell you that you look terrible in everything. Their whole job is to help you feel and look your best in your style. So having an expert eye come in and help you just refine that edit is something that, if it's in the budget, I would highly recommend, because it's an investment in yourself, and you probably won't need to do it more than once, especially if you listen to the critical advice that is being given about those pieces that you're unsure about. You can then apply those questions to future wardrobe edits that you might want to do when you refine your style in a year's time, 2 years time, or if you're like me and like to do this frequently, or every time you do a wardrobe refresh. So again, this point took me far longer to work out than I would have liked. But you want to make sure that the things that you are either buying or making mix and match well with each other. This goes back to having your colours done. If you are confident in the colours that you're buying and you're buying from your palette, theoretically the majority of those colours will go together in some way, shape or form. If you've perfected your wardrobe backbone, then you will have these core pieces that again you're going to be able to bring in your bolder prints, your brighter colours and mix and match with those. Or if you're like me and you prefer making dresses, then you will have a wardrobe full of one and done outfits that work really well. Something that I have started doing since getting into this core backbone wardrobe concept is I have started thinking about how I can layer pieces. Again, I absolutely love watching people like Rachel Maxey, Clothes Horse, Bernadette Banner, loads of people like that for their style and the way they put their outfits and clothes together. Rachel Maxey introduced me to the idea of dress layering because she would find so many thrifted dresses that she loved the bodice of, but the skirt was far too modern for her taste and aesthetic, so she would just put one of her longer skirts over the top, call the dress a bodice or a shirt, and it was an outfit and it looks amazing. So one of the things that I've started doing is making my skirts, because I love making skirts and I make a lot of skirts, I've started making them at least 2 inches longer than my preferred skirt length on my dresses, which is around 28 to 29 inches. So I'm making my skirts 29, 30, 31 inches. I like that length of skirt. I do think it's a nice length that works for me, but it also means that I can put those skirts over my dresses, and majority of my dresses tend to be the lighter fabrics, cotton lawns, the viscoses. So I can wear my dress as a top under one of these skirts that is slightly longer, and I've got a whole new look from something that traditionally is only worn one way. Something else that you might want to think about doing is creating capsule wardrobes within your whole wardrobe. I've spoken about the wardrobe backbone, the core wardrobe, especially of your neutral pieces that work with theoretically everything else in your wardrobe, but you could possibly have pieces from your overarching wardrobe that are your work capsule or your salsa dancing capsule or your event capsule, as it were. I have a grand idea and I have a lot of leftovers from a very fancy dress that I had made for me years ago. I want to make a capsule collection around that particular dress, so I want to do one of my little cropped blazers but with some of the pieces of lace that I've got left over from the offcuts of the dress, so I could wear the dress with that blazer and some high heels, and that's one look. I also then want to make a really fancy petticoat that is much longer that would work underneath of that dress to make it into a more, because the dress is very short and as we've established I don't overly love wearing short things, but I think if I made a petticoat that could be worn with or without it, that has got some details in it that tie it together, that could be then worn as a tea gown. I also have some of the lace left over that I want to embellish the cuff of some pegged 7/8 trousers, so they would then go with the little cropped jacket that I wanted to make. And I think I have just enough lace to kind of make some kind of a top that would go with that as well. And so in my head these would all be variations on the colour of lace that I've got. They would all be things that I would wear for very fancy dinners out or parties and things like that. I love the idea of this capsule collection that works around this one particular dress that I absolutely love, but I just don't wear very often because I don't have a cover up that goes with it. So it's a dress that I can only really wear in high summer, but I don't like having my legs out, so I'd want to wear tights, so it kind of negates being able to wear it in high summer. And so it's just this thing that's a thing of beauty that just lives in my wardrobe at the moment that I will never get rid of, but it's not being utilized because there's too many kind of like only if or if I had this that I think of before I put it on. So in my head, having this evening capsule wardrobe would give me all of these options around this one particular fabric that would look amazing, and it would just make something that is beautiful work a little bit harder in my wardrobe. And then that jacket, if I wanted to dress it down, for example, with a high-waisted jeans and one of my cowl neck tops, I think that would also look beautiful. So theoretically, this evening capsule wardrobe, the pieces could then be taken and mixed in and matched in with some of my other mini capsule wardrobes within my overall wardrobe. That's not something that everyone has to do, and that's not something that everyone's going to want to do, but I really like that idea that you have a holiday capsule, a workwear capsule, an evening capsule, a salsa dancing capsule. It takes the guesswork out of getting dressed, or at least it would take the guesswork out of getting dressed for me, because in my head I would have a list of resources for the activity that I want to go and do, and I've already put the thought and the effort into making sure that those things kind of go together, so it would just be a case of picking which one I want to wear and feeling fabulous in that outfit. So that is something to consider, mini capsules within your overarching wardrobe, especially if you're a maximalist like me and would absolutely hate the idea of having a 20-piece and that's it wardrobe to live on for the rest of your life. I mean, theoretically I have more clothes in my wardrobe than one person ever needs. I know I do, but I think so do a lot of people. There are very few minimalists out there that would be completely content and happy with 20 pieces for the rest of their life, and then the same 20 pieces over and over and over again for the rest of their life. There are people like that, and absolutely that is amazing, but it would be a total nightmare for me, and I wouldn't be able to express myself in any kind of a way with that kind of a limitation. So whilst I love the idea of capsule wardrobes, I wouldn't want just one. Accessories. This is a place that you can both really spend some money and really save some money. The places that I suggest that you really splurge and indulge are some really good quality boots of any type that you like that work for your style. I have a lot of pairs of knee-high boots and over-the-knee boots in my wardrobe because I absolutely love them, and in the winter months that's all I wear. And then in the summer months I have a huge selection of ballet flats in loads and loads of different colours. Now I will spend a lot of money on my boots because I can have them re-heeled and I can have a cobbler look after them. They will predominantly be leather if not suede, and I am very careful with my boots. My summer ballet flats tend to be very inexpensive because I wear those things to literal death. I wear holes through them. Even then I tend to wear them anyway because they're the right colour. It's only when I get caught in the rain and my feet get wet that I'm like, yeah, they need to be retired. So my ballet flats I won't spend a lot of money on because I am rough on them. I have tried buying really high quality leather ones and exactly the same thing happens as with the less expensive ones. So my ballet flats is an area that I never splurge on. Boots, I will splurge. I've currently got my eye on these Vivienne Westwood boots that I've wanted for over 20 years now, maybe for Christmas. They would go really well with my floaty dresses and also my pirate core aesthetic that I keep banging on about. So, but yeah, maybe for Christmas. Handbags as well. I would highly recommend that you splurge on a handbag in one of your neutral colours. For me, I've got an absolutely gorgeous tan handbag. I love that thing and I do wear it frequently. I also make handbags, so I do have a larger selection of handbags than perhaps any one person needs, but I teach handbag making at retreats. I also do sew alongs for them on the channel, so I do have a lot of handbags, but a beautiful handbag would be somewhere where I would say splurge. And then a few pieces of jewellery. So when I had my colours done, it turns out that I was warm and should be wearing gold, not silver, so I have changed over to gold accessories and I absolutely love them. Gold is much more expensive than silver, and my entire silver collection I am looking at either rehoming or selling some of those pieces because some of them are worth quite a bit of money. I have invested in some beautiful gold earrings. They're kind of statement but also kind of plain, and I feel that they go with everything. I found this necklace on Vinted and I absolutely love it. This was not expensive, but it looks expensive. It's from the 80s. I absolutely love it. I think it's a Trifari necklace, so you can find some amazing pieces out there. And then this bracelet is 9 karat gold from my nana, and then this bracelet is 24 karat gold from my mum. So I have some vintage pieces on, I have some heirloom pieces on, and I have some new pieces on. I also bought these gold rings and I got those from Etsy as well, and I can list to a lot of this in the description down below. Those are kind of the backbone of my jewellery wardrobe, as it were, but I do love costume jewellery and I do love big, bold, bright things. So I do have a lot of statement necklaces. Not that I wear them very often, but I do have them, and I have been buying them for over 25 years. There are some that are going to stay in the wardrobe, there are some that are going to get culled in the next edit that I do, but costume jewellery is somewhere that I would say if you want to indulge in trends, don't go too down the expensive line. Classic pieces you definitely want to invest in, but the kind of like more statement trend-led pieces, like there's some beautiful floral gold earrings at the moment. I absolutely love them. They are stunning. There are some Jennifer Behr ones that are expensive, and then there are high street versions which are less expensive. They are the kind of thing that I can imagine that I would want to indulge in at the moment, but I'm not sure it's going to be something that I love forever, so I don't want to go down the investment route yet. So I'm going to treat myself to some costume jewelry and see if I wear those things and if they work with a lot of my wardrobe, if they're comfortable to wear, that kind of thing. And if they are, maybe that's when I invest in the more expensive side of the trend, if it turns out not to be a trend for me. But as I've said, I'm not really one that follows fashion or wants to be fashionable. I just see things that I like and I'm like, oh yeah, I want that, and then it's just like, is this going to work for me? So jewelry is one of those places where you can splurge and you can save, depending on how often you wear the thing. Costume jewelry is a lot of fun and it can really add to an outfit. Another area that I would say that you want to probably splurge in is belts, especially if you like wearing belts as much as I do. I have some beautiful quality leather belts and they have lasted me years. I have some really lovely looking but plastic belts that have fallen apart because they are cheaply made and they have been used so often. So if it's a classic belt, you definitely want to invest in the highest quality that you can afford. But if it's a statement belt, then perhaps it's one of those things that maybe, again, try it out, see if you like it. If you do, perhaps then invest more money in the future. I have my eye on one of these leaf belts. I think it's absolutely beautiful, but again, I think it's absolutely beautiful on the people that I have seen it on. I don't know whether I would wear it enough to justify investing the kind of money that this would cost. I totally think that this is an incredible price for what this is. This is a handmade leather belt or leather accessory and it's beautiful. The amount of work that's gone into this totally justifies the price. I'm not trying to say it's too expensive. What I am trying to say is that it might be too expensive for my wardrobe for the 1 or 2 times that I probably will end up wearing this, because it's beautiful and looks amazing on other people, but I don't know that it would actually be hardworking for me. So it might be one of those things that I just look at and enjoy. But the Vivienne Westwood boots that I mentioned earlier, as I say, I've been after those for over 20 years. I can see myself wearing those frequently with the different types of clothing and outfits that I like to put together. So I think that they would actually be more of an investment than the belt. Both are beautiful. One would work harder for me than the other though. So if you've got to this part of the video, thank you so much for listening to me waffle, and well done. That you're going to need to do most of these steps fairly regularly. Your style's going to change over the years, your needs are going to change over the years. Even if you get everything absolutely perfect, you are going to need to maintain and update your wardrobe to make sure that the pieces that you've invested in have the longevity that you want from them. So you need to be polishing your boots and looking after those. You need to be maintaining your knitwear, making sure that the moths don't get at it. You need to be fixing teeny tiny little tears in seams and sewing on buttons to shirts immediately as they need fixing. Don't put them in the alteration pile like I do. And if you do have to swap out your clothes season on season, this would be a great time to look through and maintain the pieces that are going into storage. You can get the little cedar balls that theoretically repel moths, especially if you have natural fibre knitwear. The majority of my knitwear is acrylic. I do have some cashmere and some silk pieces that I do need to look after. That is something that you want to think about if you're packing those away for the season. If you're getting them out for the season, inspect them before you put them into your wardrobe, just in case the worst has happened. You want to be able to treat it as an isolated thing rather than put something with moths back into your wardrobe and then have to deal with it in the entirety of your wardrobe. Something else to think about is how often do you launder your clothes? I don't launder my clothes very often. That might sound like I smell, I promise I don't. So my outerwear I don't tend to wash unless it absolutely stinks or if I spill something down it. If I spill something down it, I will try and spot clean it rather than wash the entire thing. For the kind of like odor side of things, you can have things like Febreze straight vodka if you don't mind that. You can hang them up in a steamy shower room. You can hang them up next to an open window. You can put them in the fridge or the freezer because the cold will kill the bacteria that makes the smell. I mean, nobody's told me I smell, so you know, fingers crossed I actually don't, and it's not just all in my imagination. But I actually don't launder my outerwear very often at all. That's going to increase the longevity of my clothes. The less that you wash and tumble dry things, the better. I very rarely tumble dry any of my clothes that do get washed. The clothes that I will wash and tumble dry frequently are my undergarments, and this is another reason that I wear slips. So I have a bunch of different slips which are all store-bought. I will link to the ones that I particularly like, but they are the thing that are next to the majority of my skin on a day-to-day basis, and they're the things that I will launder after 1 or 2 wears. My underwear obviously I wash every day, but your outerwear, your dresses, your shirts, your clothes. Shirts maybe more frequently, but your skirts, your dresses, things like that, how often do they really need to be washed? It's something to consider, because the fewer times you wash something, especially the fewer times you tumble dry something, the longer your clothes are going to last. Also, the expensive items that you have bought in your wardrobe, either like cashmere jumpers or silk dresses, silk shirts, does the place that you bought them recommend dry cleaning? Does the place that you bought the fabric that you made the thing out of recommend dry cleaning? It might be worth looking into that. Now, dry cleaning in and of itself, chemicals and processes, and obviously cost as well, but my lovely mum has a couple of beautiful silk shirts that she has put through our washing machine on the silk cycle, the delicate cycle, with silk wash, and they are looking battered because of it. So some of the clothes that you have in your wardrobe, some of the clothes that you make, may need to be dry cleaned, and that is something to consider when you're purchasing things. Are you willing to put in the care and the money that is needed to maintain this thing in a way that's going to keep it optimal and at its best? And if you're not, then perhaps it's worth considering a different fibre or a different type of fabric so that you can treat it the way that you want to, which is, if you want to launder your stuff every day, you do you. I'm not saying that I'm right, I'm not saying that you're right. Whatever works for you is the correct way. But if you are investing in pieces, you do want to make sure that you're willing to invest in their upkeep as much as you are in the piece itself, to have it looking its best for its longest. Which leads me on nicely to my next point, which is quality over quantity. Now, I do have a huge wardrobe. I acknowledge and admit that. I like clothes. I do have a huge potential wardrobe behind me as well. Do I need any more clothes? No, I don't. If I don't make any more clothes, I kind of don't have a job. And I also love variety and trying different things. For as much as I repeat patterns a lot, I do like trying different things. I bought all of these fabrics because they are beautiful and appeal to me, and I have destashed a bunch. I have gone through, since having my colours done, and being critical about the different prints and colours that I had back there and whether they would actually work for me, or if I just think, again, that's beautiful, I've seen it on somebody else, it's going to look great on me, and make the thing up and it ends up being donated or given away because it's just actually not right. So I am getting better about buying less and being more thoughtful about the things that I do buy, and then more thoughtful about the things that I do make. One thing that I would like to think is that I do put effort and thoughtfulness into every single thing that I make. I want to make sure that they are made to the best, highest standards that I possibly can achieve at home, and that they will have longevity and they will wash well, even though I don't wash my clothes very often. I do like to make sure that all my raw seams are enclosed, either in French seams or a full lining. I do like to make sure that the things that I make are fitting well, and I do like to make sure that the things that I make are out of fabrics and fibres that are theoretically less detrimental to the environment. I appreciate that making cotton is incredibly water intensive, and there are options out there for buying more eco-friendly fabrics, which I am actively trying to purchase, even though I am trying to also purchase less. I'm getting better, slowly but surely. I think as well, taking the time to go through all of these steps, or not necessarily kind of like my outline, somebody else's outline that works better for you, but going through a thoughtful and considered approach to how you're building your wardrobe and trying to put things together, and really thinking about colours and shapes and silhouettes and activities that work for you, will mean that you in the long run are going to buy better quality, look after it better, have things that you love and that you wear frequently, and that you won't end up buying buying something on an impulse because, oh, I love it, and it doesn't quite work for you and it ends up languishing in the wardrobe. So I would say, even though the size of my wardrobe is huge, quality over quantity every single time. And you do want to spend money and invest in pieces that will make up the backbone of your wardrobe, whether that's you're actually buying the physical finished garment or if you're buying the fabric to make that backbone wardrobe piece. That is where you really do want to invest your money. So the majority of you will have gone through this process and you will have pieces in your wardrobe hanging there that you absolutely love, that you know you wear and that you want to keep forever, or at least the foreseeable future. And so now you can start identifying the gaps that you've got in your wardrobe. Are you like me? Did you have a million dresses, beautiful dresses left over from your wardrobe cull, and realistically, while they are all outfits in and of themselves, you have nothing else to wear? So you can identify the holes in your wardrobe and start making plans to kind of fill those gaps in, especially now that you've identified the different areas in your life that you actually need clothes for. What do you guys think? I have done all of these processes and I have ended up with what I think is my signature style and a wardrobe full of clothes that I love. And now that I'm working on creating the backbone of my wardrobe, a wardrobe full of clothes that are actually versatile and create so many more options for me, which is something that I'm really loving. I think I mentioned, but I am planning on doing a deeper dive into my personal style and how I used these steps to actually refine down and work out exactly what I like, exactly why I want to wear it, and exactly how I want to style things. So that video will be coming really soon. But I'd love to hear from you guys what you think of the steps that I've mentioned, the different creators that I've mentioned who've done videos like this. And I'd also love to hear any of your top tips and tricks for refining your own personal style. If you've enjoyed this video, you might want to check out this one here.